The name itself has become a symbol of American culture, resilience, and triumph. The woman who built the Oprah Winfrey Show into the most influential daytime program of all time, who didn't just capture audiences, but carved her presence into the heart of the world. She rose from hunger, from rags used as clothing, from a childhood where even the smallest comforts were rare. And yet, she transformed into one of the most powerful women on earth, a billionaire with an empire spanning television, film, publishing, and philanthropy. But what set Oprah apart wasn't just her success. It was her ability to redefine what truth, healing, and empathy could look like in front of millions of people. For decades, she was not just a host or a storyteller. She was the story, living proof that even the deepest wounds can give birth to greatness. Still behind her radiant empire lay shadows that could not be erased. Loneliness, betrayal, grief, and the crushing weight of carrying not just her own scars, but those of her audience. The applause has lasted for decades. The admiration has been endless. But few ever stop to face the truth that no fortune, no fame, no love could fully heal the burdens she carried. Oprah Gail Winfrey was born on January 29, 1954, in Kosciuszko, Mississippi. Her mother, Vernita Lee, was a teenage maid. Her father, Vernon Winfrey, worked as a barber and a coal miner. They never married. Their bond broke apart almost instantly. From her very first breaths, Oprah's life was shaped by separation and uncertainty. As an infant, she was sent to live with her grandmother, Hattie Mae Lee, on a small farm where poverty pressed down like a constant shadow. Dresses were made from potato sacks, food was scarce, and chores were endless. Yet within that struggle was one priceless gift. Her grandmother taught her to read. Oprah remembered it clearly. "My grandmother taught me to read the Bible before I was 3 years old." By the age of 3, she was already standing in front of church congregations, reciting scripture with the fire of someone far older. From the start, words became her shield, her weapon, and her comfort in a world that gave her so little else. But stability was short-lived. At just 6 years old, she was sent to Milwaukee to live with her mother. Safety and love were not waiting for her there. Vernita worked long hours, leaving Oprah in the care of others. She was shuffled from one unstable household to the next, never finding a true home. By her early teens, life grew even harsher. She was violated by men who should have protected her. Trust was shattered, her innocence stolen, leaving scars that would follow her forever. In 1968, at just 14 years old, she gave birth to a baby boy who lived only briefly. His loss carved a wound in her heart that would never fully heal. Overwhelmed, her mother eventually sent her to live with her father in Nashville. Vernon Winfrey was strict, demanding discipline, education, and high standards. It was harsh, but it was also the anchor that saved her life. Under his roof, structure replaced chaos, and she began to see a future beyond survival. Years later, Oprah would say, "Turn your wounds into wisdom," and that is exactly what she did. By 1971, at just 17 years old, she entered the Miss Black Tennessee beauty pageant and won. That victory opened the door to her first radio job at WVOL in Nashville. She later recalled, "The first time I sat in front of a microphone, I knew this was what I was meant to do." At 19, she became the youngest person and the first black woman to co-anchor the news at WLAC-TV in Nashville. But executives doubted her, calling her too raw and too emotional for television. What they criticized, however, would become her greatest strength. In 1978, she co-hosted a local talk show in Baltimore, People Are Talking. Unlike other hosts, she didn't just ask questions, she lived the answers with her guests. She cried when they cried. She laughed when they laughed. Her empathy broke through the television screen, and audiences connected with her instantly. By 1984, she was given a struggling Chicago morning show, AM Chicago. It was dead last in ratings. Within months, Oprah had lifted it to the #1 spot, even surpassing the legendary Phil Donahue. 2 years later, in 1986, the show was renamed The Oprah Winfrey Show. From that moment on, television history was rewritten. For 25 years, it was not just a talk show. It was a cultural sanctuary, where millions turned every day for healing, for connection, and for hope. Oprah herself once said, "Everybody wants to be seen. Everybody wants to be heard." And that is exactly what she gave the world. But behind the smiles and applause was an enormous weight. Critics accused her of exploiting pain. Tabloids mocked her endlessly, splashing unflattering photos of her body across front pages. She once famously wheeled a wagon of fat onto her stage to symbolize her weight loss, an image that haunted her for decades. Her body became a battlefield of public scrutiny, and yet Oprah kept building. She created Harpo Productions. She launched O, the Oprah magazine. She introduced America to Dr. Phil and Rachel Ray. She starred in The Color Purple and later produced acclaimed films like Selma. Not everything succeeded. In 1998, she poured her heart and nearly $80 million into the film Beloved, only to see it flop at the box office. The disappointment left her depressed, not just for the money lost, but for the rejection of something that meant so much to her. Still, she rose again. Life delivered cruel personal losses too. In 1989, her younger brother Jeffrey died of AIDS at only 30 years old. In 2003, her half-sister Pat died after years of battling addiction. In 2010, she discovered another half-sister, Patricia, who had been given up for adoption decades earlier. Their reunion was bittersweet, joyful, but also a reminder of years that could never be reclaimed. Her mother, Vernita, passed away in 2018, her father, Vernon, in 2022. Each loss hollowed her. Each reopened wounds of abandonment and grief. And yet, she kept going, carrying their memories with her as she walked forward. Her personal life was just as unconventional. In the 1970s, she had relationships with William Bubba Taylor and musician John Tesh, both shaped and strained by circumstance and prejudice. Then, in 1986, she met Stedman Graham. For nearly 40 years, he has remained her partner. They became engaged in 1992, but Oprah chose never to marry. She believed marriage might have destroyed what they shared. Instead, they built a partnership based on trust and choice, not ceremony. She also chose not to have children, saying honestly, "I wouldn't have been a good mother. I didn't have the patience." Instead, she gave her love and energy to millions through her work, philanthropy, and schools. Today, at 71 years old, Oprah lives in Montecito, California, on her beloved estate known as the Promised Land. Her sprawling acres, stables, and gardens are not trophies. They are sanctuaries. Proof that the girl who once wore dresses made from potato sacks now walks across fields she owns. Her net worth sits around $3 billion. But her true wealth is measured in her giving. $40 million to establish the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa. $12 million to the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture. Nearly $60 million in 2023 through the People's Fund of Maui to help wildfire victims. Her philanthropy has never been about charity. It has always been about restoring dignity. Even now, Oprah remains active. Her book club still makes bestsellers. She helped bring The Color Purple musical to the screen in 2023. She continues interviews and podcasts that shape culture and conversation. She has stumbled. She has been mocked. She has carried grief few could imagine. But each time, she has risen. Not just as a television queen or a billionaire, but as a living example of resilience. From the little girl reciting Bible verses at 3 years old to the global icon sitting with royalty, Oprah Winfrey has rewritten the American dream with her own scars, triumphs, and grace. Her story was never about perfection. It was always about endurance, about proving that greatness is not the absence of wounds, but the mastery of them, as she once declared, "Turn your wounds into wisdom." And perhaps that is the most powerful lesson her life gives us. No matter how broken the beginning, you can rise. No matter how heavy the crown, you can still shine like a torch against the darkness.